How did an innocent school fantasy cross the line of the forbidden? A young girl whose lawyer parents are working abroad is left alone in their Tennessee house. Despite her isolation, she goes to school each day, walking through the woods in a mini skirt and high heels. At school, she meets her teacher, Jonathan Miller, a middle-aged man who once aspired to be an author but failed. Although there is a significant age difference, Jonathan becomes a paternal figure to Cairo while she secretly admires him. As Cairo arrives early to class, Jonathan asks her to read the books for the semester. He is surprised to learn that she has already read all 12 required books. They discuss literature until Winnie, Cairo's friend and Jonathan's repeating student, arrives and invites Cairo to eat with her. After the girls leave, Jonathan, intrigued by Cairo's reading choices, examines the books on her desk. Suddenly, his friend Boris appears, grabs a book Jonathan was reading, and teasingly reads aloud an explicit passage. Jonathan tries to stop him from reading the naughty part, but Boris persists. Boris notices a book Jonathan wrote and is surprised to discover that Cairo has it. When Jonathan returns home, he finds his wife Beatrice absorbed in her work. He attempts to talk to her, but she seems too occupied. Jonathan immediately calls her to express his excitement about a student reading his book. During their conversation, Beatrice's co-worker Amy urgently calls her. After the call, Jonathan flirts with his wife over the phone and they enjoy some drinks together. As things heat up between them, Amy calls again, just as they are about to get intimate, leaving Jonathan frustrated. The following day, Jonathan shares his disappointing weekend with Boris, explaining how Amy's interruptions ruined a romantic moment with Beatrice. Boris teases Jonathan about his mishaps and starts talking about his own life. While chatting, they notice Cairo coming out of the woods nearby. Jonathan, still irritated from the previous day, watches her as she approaches. Cairo, unaware of the tension, greets them cheerfully after removing her headphones. Feeling sexually frustrated, Jonathan tries to maintain his composure by casually conversing with Cairo. When Winnie pretends to have accidentally dropped her things in the locker room, Boris sees through her act. He confronts her, realizing she is trying to seduce him. Cairo notices this and tells Winnie she's quite bold. Winnie attempts to give Cairo essay ideas, but Cairo finds them too ordinary. Suddenly, Winnie suggests that Cairo try charming teachers for essay material. Jonathan quietly approaches her from behind and whispers for her to meet him in his office after class. In Jonathan's office, he talks with Boris and invites him to join him and his wife for dinner. Boris agrees, and they have a great time dancing before Boris leaves. Cairo happens to see Jonathan dancing, and after Boris's departure, Jonathan tries to imitate Boris's dance moves. They laugh together. They then discuss Winnie, with Jonathan expressing his approval of their friendship and continuing to talk about Cairo's living situation. The teacher also congratulates Cairo on her excellent work in a recent piece of writing, impressed by her ability to memorize certain lines from it, leaving him speechless. She quotes a part of his book, just as she memorized part of what she had written. The professor is delighted and admits that the book she quoted was the first he ever wrote, holding special significance for him. Cairo, believing he is simply uninspired, challenges him to find that spark again and start writing once more. He invites Cairo to meet that weekend to further discuss the short story. At the meeting spot, Jonathan surprises Cairo from behind. As they talk, Jonathan comments on how they've been honing their literary skills together for a while as a poet named Elliot performs. Cairo glances at Jonathan, who listens attentively. They later critique Elliot's poetry, sharing thoughts and opinions. As Cairo smokes, she offers Jonathan a cigarette, which he accepts. On a new school day, Cairo decides to change her appearance. She brings coffee to Boris and Miller, and they all seem more confident, joking around and sharing a cigarette. Cairo tells Winnie that even though the professor didn't say anything about her new look, she knows he liked it. Later, Cairo informs Miller that she wants to write her story like Henry Miller, a famous author known for writing about love and sex. Miller worries it might cause trouble at school, but Cairo thinks it could make her story more interesting. Jonathan volunteers to return Cairo's phone to her house and quickly agrees Despite the incoming rain, upon arriving, Jonathan sees Cairo walking outside in a seductive dress in the rain. Their eyes meet, and Cairo approaches him in the pouring rain. Overwhelmed by passion, they embrace and share a passionate kiss. Days after their intense moment, Jonathan's thoughts are consumed by Cairo. Suddenly, Cairo sends Jonathan his midterm test, bringing him back to reality. Waking from his distracted state, Jonathan's wife urges him to leave her alone as she attends to other matters. Jonathan leaves and goes to a small house near theirs. There, he prints out Cairo's finished work and immediately starts reading it, engrossed in the captivating story with its adult themes. Jonathan's excitement peaks as he envisions Cairo in the scenes, fueling his desire. Unable to resist any longer, Jonathan quickly removes his pants and pleasures himself. The next day, Cairo comes to class wearing an enticing outfit, but Jonathan's attitude towards her has noticeably changed. He doesn't greet her as warmly as before. Sensing something is wrong, Cairo asks Jonathan if everything is all right. Jonathan expresses his disappointment with the explicit content of Cairo's writing. Cairo tries to explain that she rejected the explicit content, but Jonathan remains unmoved. He refuses to listen to her explanations and ultimately decides to reject both her work and their relationship. Cairo lashes out at Jonathan, calling his own works average and dull. Jonathan remains firm in his belief in their roles as teacher and student. She says he's just jealous because he can't do what she's done. After this tense moment, Cairo storms out of the classroom, leaving her story in a school administrator's mailbox. Miller goes home and shares the challenging day he had with his wife, detailing his encounter with Cairo and her story. His wife becomes intrigued by Cairo's writing, leading to a heated discussion between the couple that inadvertently involves Boris. Meanwhile, Cairo seeks comfort in a drink with her friend Winnie after facing rejection from Miller. As the evening progresses and the drinks flow, they jokingly decide to take compromising photos to tease Boris, adding humor to their night out. Just then, Jonathan receives a call from the principal's office. Beatrice hands him the phone, and he listens as they accuse him of having an inappropriate relationship with Cairo. Jonathan denies the accusation and reassures Beatrice that it's not true. However, Beatrice warns him about the potential consequences, mentioning that he could lose both his job and his wife if the allegations are found to be true. The next day, Cairo is absent from class as she meets with the principal. Meanwhile, Jonathan continues teaching. How much Cairo means to her. Jonathan remains unaffected, unwilling to discuss the matter. As Cairo's plans unfold, the teacher is called to a meeting with the school management. Both Cairo and Professor Miller are questioned extensively. They answer questions about their interactions during classes and whether they had any close encounters outside of school. Cairo's responses strongly imply that there was a connection between them. The director decides to suspend Jonathan. When Jonathan returns home, Beatrice quickly asks if something is wrong, but he denies it, only admitting that he was being special to Cairo. Beatrice doesn't believe him until he confesses. This leads to a heated argument where they both say hurtful things to each other. Beatrice, furious, storms out, saying she wants a divorce. At the same time, Winnie tells Cairo that she could cause Jonathan to lose his job. However, Cairo considers this his greatest achievement and even includes it in his college essay. Cairo explains to Winnie that Jonathan did not think highly of her, so this was her way of getting back at him. Cairo's essay paints a vivid picture of the potential consequences of Jonathan's relationship with Cairo. When she finishes writing, the movie ends.
Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe KCAK for Family Movie TV.